So the April job report came out a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago, and it was very interesting. Unemployment ticked slightly up, but it's important to know that in the professional services, which includes the vast majority of what we at Zenith Search Partners work in, with professional sales, business to business folks, engineers, operations folks, supply chain, that is effectively at full employment. Anything under 3.5% and certainly 4% is generally thought of as full employment, and we are at 3.6%. And in our sector where we play in engineering, manufacturing, supply chain, and water treatment in the chemical space, it's still pretty tight. What the year looks like going forward, God only knows. We'll see. But right now, we're faced with a pretty tight market. The jobs report says that there continues to be a gap, a disparity where you have more job openings versus talent available for those jobs. Now, I would argue that the gap isn't as pronounced as it's been in the last quarters, but still, in a supply, if you look at it from a supply-demand perspective, it is still a candidate-driven market because the candidates are, well, you have a lower supply versus a higher demand for that talent.
See, when I look at that too, I also look at the employers are, they've learned they're being a lot more picky on their hires. So yeah, the jobs are up because they're not just taking everybody and taking chances on every hire. Where we saw that a couple of years ago where, hiring was through the roof, and then it all went and shut down and stopped. But, we've seen this firsthand. They're trying to check every box they can, at least for the first go around, in the recruiting world. And then still, it still is not much more, they don't take a whole lot off. They really want to find the perfect candidates right now, and they're in position to do so.
Haley and I have literally half a dozen roles, maybe even more, that we're working our split desk right now, where you have very, very exacting standards and requirements, and hiring managers have been either somewhat or very hesitant to yield.
Chris, do you think that's more so they are looking for the perfect person or so afraid to make a bad hire?
Wow. Instead of an either or, I think that could be a little bit of a both and, right? I think they feed on each other, right? So I think there's elements of both, that they don't want to make a bad hire and invest poorly, right?
I know we've talked about the cost of a bad hire, and we've put that out there. So is that?
And we're not the
on
only
us?
ones. And of course, we're not the only ones.
And it's not like we're not.
Firms
we're telling the truth, but it's almost like, it now makes people nervous.
But it's the cost of not having a role filled versus the cost of filling the role poorly, right? Mm-hmm. Making no decision is a decision, right? Mm-hmm. Being indecisive is a decision, right? And there are consequences of that decision, right? Your decision to be indecisive comes with consequences, right?
Oh, good or bad. Yeah.
Yes. Don't worry, being decisive can come with negative consequences too, right? So yeah, you could argue it both ways for sure. I think people are very, very mindful, and people they're afraid to make a bad hire. I get it. We are, right? At our firm, we are, because we know that that's real money, right? There's a real financial pain, I get it.